Hello everyone! I know, as usual, it's been ages since I made a video. In fact, I think it's been 2 months, but I've been meaning to make this Japanese progress update ever since I came back from Japan, which was a month and a half ago. That's crazy. Time flies. So we are going to talk about Japanese. And on this note, let's get started with the first thing I wanted to talk about. If you've been following these updates, especially the last 3 to 4 ones, I want to say, you know that I've been interested in reading manga, in particular Yotsubato. And last year, I did go ahead and buy the full series. I mean, at the time, it was 15 books. Now I think there's 16 because it's not complete, but the author also takes their time to, publish and produce, whatever the word is, the manga. And just to give you a bit of context, in case you weren't there for the previous updates, Yotsubato is kind of known to be a manga that's good for N4, N3 level, I believe. N5, I think probably that would be a bit difficult, but it's basically known for being like the first manga for beginners, essentially. And since it's a slice of life type of manga, meaning it sort of depicts everyday situations, it's basically just everyday vocabulary and grammar, but on steroids. People do hype it up as the holy grail of manga for beginners, and to be honest, I do get the appeal. Pro tip for you, if you like reading manga, and you're going to Japan or you live in Japan or whatever. I mean, I guess if you live in Japan, you probably know about this already, but essentially buy all your books at Book Off. Book Off is essentially specialized in selling secondhand books, and it's really cheap. I think I got the 15 volumes for under $30. So the literal bargain of the century. You can probably find novels as well, I'm guessing, but I'm not exactly at the reading Japanese novel stage yet, but I'm gonna manifest that for myself in this video. So now I guess you all want to know how it went, and I'm going to tell you. I basically read the full first volume, and as I was expecting, because I was reading a lot about it on Reddit, especially on the r/Japanese language, the vocabulary and grammar are definitely casual. And it's not a bad thing because that's actually what I want to focus on in Japanese. I'm not planning on working in Japan or doing business Japanese. I just want to be able to chat, essentially. Not saying I'm ignoring formal Japanese, but my focus is in casual Japanese. And although formal Japanese is more what I'm kind of used to, there's still definitely a learning curve when you start reading Yotsubato. Like, some pages made me think, wow, I've got this, while other pages were honestly pretty humbling. And the way I handled the difficulty of reading Yotsubato for the first time is that I use ChatGPT quite a lot. I am a fan of ChatGPT. I think it's really useful for language learning. And basically when I'm stuck, I take a picture of a page or like a panel and I ask ChatGPT to not only translate, because translating is not really useful because you read the translation, then you move on, so you learned nothing. I actually ask ChatGPT to break it down and explain any grammar involved. And I can ask any additional questions like, what does that mean when the character says this in this way? Would it be different if they said this and that? The kind of stuff that helps you deepen your understanding of the language, essentially. I would definitely not recommend to use ChatGPT just as a translator, because if I did the translation thing without breaking down the sentences or trying to understand what's going on, it would be like reading the manga in English, but with extra suffering because you have to take the pictures and wait for the answer to be processed. And, it's just very time consuming. On top of that, when ChatGPT breaks down the sentences, at least for me, it also compares it to what a standard Japanese sentence would be like. Yotsubato is a kid. She's 4 years old, so the way she speaks Japanese is a bit childish. Sometimes she doesn't use kanji, and not using kanji sometimes makes, in my case, reading harder because I expect the word to have kanji, but it doesn't. So anyway, ChatGPT kind of sorts out all these misunderstandings or ambiguities, I guess, that I have when reading the manga. And to go a little bit further, whenever there's a word that comes up very often or that I find interesting for whatever reason, I also try to put it on ANKI. Or rather, what I do, and I will sort of explain that ANKI deck in a bit more detail in a second, but I have a 6K vocab deck where I will look the word in that sort of big deck, and usually the word is there because in Yotsubato, most of the words are going to be common. And I try to prioritize it so it comes up sooner as a new word, if that makes sense. So I just reposition it. And I basically just make ANKI my bitch. Wait, I can't say that. That's insane. Anyway, so overall, yes, I am reading in Japanese, albeit it's kind of doubled as study time as well, because I am taking breaks after each page to make sure that the sentences make sense, there isn't a word I'm missing and stuff. And I'm sure some of you will think, well, but that sounds a bit tedious to, read and stop. But for me, I kind of treat Yotsubato as studying more than just purely reading. And on top of that, I'm guessing as I read the story, I will know more about the characters and I will get used to the sentence structures and slang that they use, and I'm expecting at least, the reading to be smoother as time goes on. However, if any of you have cracked the code to reading Japanese manga without taking a break every 2 lines, feel free to drop your wisdom in the comment section below, because maybe I need it. Who knows? Also, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm wearing like some sort of kimono style top. I don't know how to call it, but my friend made it for me for my birthday and I'm pretty excited about it. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of show off, essentially. But you know what? Let's carry on with Anki, because I was talking about it. I'm going to look at my notes a little bit so I don't get lost in what I'm saying, but I've mentioned in previous updates, and I just mentioned it in this video, I'm going through a deck which is made up of the most common 6,000 words. Sorry, English is not Englishing right today. And overall, I really like the deck. I did think, because I was a bit naive, that I would be able to go through, 2K or 3K words in a year. Turns out, right now, I think I'm up to 1,400 words, which is nothing to be, ashamed of. I think I'm happy, I'm proud, but it's definitely not as much as I thought it would be, because it turns out that learning vocab is not that easy and reviews add up very quickly, and I'm not about the 200 review a day life, So I'm trying to keep things a bit contained. So sometimes I don't learn new words, sometimes I learn 5, I just take it very slowly, essentially. But one thing I will say about the deck that I think is a little bit annoying is that the order in which it presents new words is not always logical. Like, at first it will give you words like the days of the week. Okay, obviously, fair enough. Words for wife, for house, car, train station, whatever. And then suddenly I get hit with words like recession. And I'm just like, not Anki getting me ready for Wall Street when I'm just trying to survive a trip to the supermarket. I really believe, but I don't think that's a hot take, that there's a time and place for learning words and a certain order as well. So often it makes more sense to learn certain words over others that are more advanced. And since I'm not particularly interested in politics or economics as of now, it's not really important for me to learn that in Japanese when I could be learning words like, I don't know, repair, calm down, cry, run. I don't know, I'm just making up random examples, but you get the idea. And to help me with that, figuring out if a word is too advanced or not, obviously I use common sense, but also you can use ChatGPT. I will ask ChatGPT, what N level do you think that word is? If it's N1 or N2, I kind of, suspend the card so it doesn't come up for now. Until I'm kind of ready for N2, N1 level vocab. And if it's up to N3, then I keep it. I'm still at N4 level, more or less, but N3 is still within my level. It's not way outside. And then whenever I've gone through, the main N5 to N3 words of vocab, then I can go back to these words later on. That'll make more sense this way, I believe. And no shade to N1 vocab, but I'm pretty sure if I'm still learning the word for traffic jam, then recession can take a few seats. And doing so, to be honest, helps me with, focusing my energy on words that I'm most likely to encounter first, rather than words that will come up maybe, I don't know, never, maybe. When's the last time I've read about recession? I don't know. Don't ask me. And number 3, because we're talking about ChatGPT and I don't know, I'm killing it at the segues today. It's actually been very useful to use ChatGPT for my learning for the 2 reasons I've already sort of explained so far. But there's another one, which I might make a full-on video about because it's a bit long to explain here. I'm not trying to make an hour and a half long movie on YouTube. It's not a career I'm ready for, but I'll still sum it up briefly in this video. But if you're interested in a more sort of detailed explanation, then let me know and maybe I'll make that video sooner rather than later if I see there's interest. So basically, just to make sure I'm not just memorizing words on Anki and watching Japanese content, I've also tried to practice building sentences a few times a week using ChatGPT. I'm not yet at the stage where I can just sort of do free writing with long texts in Japanese. I'm just not ready for it. That's just too scary, to be honest. I've tried to do something that's kind of writing, but way more controlled. So the idea I came up with, and I'm not saying it's rocket science, but that's what I'm doing, is I asked ChatGPT to give me prompts in English, which I then translate into Japanese. But it's not just translation, it's a bit more sophisticated than that, if you will. So for example, recently I've been practicing using while doing, so using nagara, trying to express I realized, like I realized I lost my keys, so kizuku, sorry, and also using zuni, which means without doing something. And what I asked ChatGPT is to basically give me a prompt that's N4 level appropriate using these 3 grammar points. And on top of that, I ask it to give vocab that's relevant to someone that is about N4. And basically, if I don't know the word, I can ask ChatGPT, can you explain just that word to help me a little bit? And it will give me the translation. Then I give the prompt. Then when I give the prompt, ChatGPT will basically give me feedback, tell me what was good, what was bad, how to improve, why what I said is wrong, etc. So it's basically like a tutor giving you feedback. And sometimes I also try to spice things up a little bit. So instead of just writing out my answers, I try to just say it, because you can use voice to speech to text, oh my God, to write your answers. Personally, I find these translation prompts pretty fun. I know some of you don't like that, but what can I say? I do you, you do you. I do me, you do you. Oh my God, what? That's insane. I'm going to cut that. Honestly, I find these translation prompts very fun to do. They challenge me quite a bit, and they help me notice the gaps in what I know. And they're kind of addictive the way horror movies are addictive, You watch them, you scream a little, but somehow you keep coming back. That's the best way I could put it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the JLPT. I wanted to talk about it because it's basically the reason why this series exists. It's because I wanted to do the N5 exam. That was like before COVID, I think. Wow, I've been learning Japanese for a long time. Baby steps, guys, baby steps. And basically 2 interactions, we'll say, have changed my mind. The first one is with Matt versus Japan. It would be long to summarize. Basically, there's a video of me having a discussion or an interview, kind of, with Matt versus Japan. I will link it in the description box below. It came out, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I also got a very interesting comment in my previous Japanese progress update. I believe it was from Mildly Linguistic. I will put the comment on the screen because it's a bit too long for me to read, but essentially the main takeaway from this comment that I got and from the conversations with Matt is that if you're focused on learning sort of more spoken, casual Japanese, the JLPT might not make sense necessarily because it's meant to be standard and formal Japanese. So it's kind of like you're trying to go right, but you're also going left. So it's kind of maybe a little bit counterintuitive in some cases. Of course, if you're studying for the JLPT because you want to work in Japan or for any sort of formal or academic reasons, then that's a whole nother story. But that's not my case, essentially. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I don't know where I stand with the JLPT. So maybe I will just not focus as much on it from now on. And honestly, at this point, I feel like the only exam I would ace is getting lost in Umeda Station in Osaka. If you know, you know. However, I'm not completely discarding the JLPT in the sense that I still find it useful to use vocab lists and grammar lists based on the N levels because they're kind of a nice reference. But I guess I'm not going to focus too much on practicing for the exam. Maybe. That's where I'm at in terms of my thought process with the JLPT. But of course, as usual, if you have any insights to provide me with, feel free to drop them in the comment section below and maybe I will discuss them in a future update. Who knows? And finally, the last few things I wanted to talk about because I don't want this video to be too long, as I said. I did go to Japan. I talked about it a lot on Instagram, so if you follow me, you've probably been bombarded by stories of me in Japan. It was mostly me eating food, basically. And there isn't that much to say in terms of language learning. Obviously, I had a fabulous time, but in terms of language learning, there hasn't been anything like specific I can sort of pinpoint, I guess. But I did notice that I feel more comfortable with Japanese. I understand it a little bit better. It's not fluent at all. I'm never claimed to be fluent in Japanese. You know, I don't think I'll be fluent in Japanese in the next 50 years, it looks like. But I do notice some improvement. I feel more comfortable. It's like my brain gets accustomed to Japanese, but it doesn't mean I understand it a lot more. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain better. I'm terrible at explaining things. I did also buy more manga. Did I need more manga? No. But did I buy them anyway? Yes. And that's none of your business. But I did buy Shirokuma Cafe. Actually, I will show you a copy so you can sort of see, look at what I'm reading essentially. Be right back. So this is Yotsubato, which I mentioned. Hopefully it's focused. And I decided to buy a new collection of books, which is not a big series. It's called Shirokuma Cafe. I think I bought 6 or 7 volumes. I think right now there's like 7 or 8. I didn't buy the last ones because they were not secondhand yet, and I felt like I had already 20 books to read, and that was enough. I tried to display some self-restraint, let's say, says the guy that bought 20 manga books. But anyway, and it's kind of known to be the follow-up to Yotsubato, not the literal one, but in terms of like level. So people say that once you've read Yotsubato, it's kind of nice to move on to Shirokuma Cafe. It's more N3 level, so it's not so much N4 like Yotsubato can be sometimes, or most of the time. It's definitely more N3, potentially N2, I'm not sure, but from what I've read, it's more N3, so more difficult. But it's kind of the same slice of life vibe, but it's with animals, and it's meant to be quite funny, a bit more difficult because some puns are kind of culture based, or like you have to understand Japanese culture quite a bit, apparently, to understand them. So, you know, we'll see when I get there. And also, as a challenge for myself, but that's not something I will tackle now, I bought the last volumes of Naruto, Shippuden, because I've always loved Naruto. It's my favorite anime. I'm not a big fan of anime. I don't watch that many, but Naruto is my shit, guys. I love it so much. I'm rewatching the anime at the moment, actually. But yeah, essentially it's much more difficult. I think it's more N2, N1 level. So I think when I reach the level where I can read Naruto, you know, with some degree of ease, if that makes sense in English, then I think I can die in peace. So yeah, that's the main things I wanted to sort of talk about here. I like to finish these videos with some objectives, or like not necessarily something I will do by the next video, but something I'm kind of focusing on. It's kind of nice or interesting for me to look back on my videos and see, oh, that was my objective, and see how it's changed. So my first objective is to keep grinding through my ANKI deck. It's going to take me probably 2 years if I keep up at this pace, maybe a bit more. I want to start reading the second volume of Yotsubato. Maybe I'll read more, but reading the second volume would be nice, in maybe this month or in September. I would also like to keep on working on my grammar with ChatGPT, the way I explained it. And finally, I need to watch many more Japanese shows. Matt, in the video I just uploaded a few weeks ago, gave me lots of recommendations of things to watch. So if you're looking for recommendations, then you know where to go, to the video that will be in the description box below. And on this note, thank you for watching this video. Oh, if you did watch this video until this point, until right now, I would like you to drop the book emoji. Let's go with that. And on this note, I will see you later. Jane!